5,
4,
3,
2,
1. Hi, Tribe. I'm Evelyn.
And I'm Versavia.
And you're listening to Objectively Typed, a podcast where we explore the objective personality system. There, nailed it. Today we're typing Matthew Mercer, or sometimes known as Matt Mercer. He is kind of internet famous, I guess. He's a voice actor in various like anime and games and things like that. And then he's also the dungeon master for a real play D&D YouTube slash podcast show called Critical Role. So that's how I knew of him. And now this is a guest request. So Dallas in the groups actually requested Matt Mercer on one of our like, hey,
a while back.
Yeah, a while back. And I actually have heard of Matt Mercer. I've kind of followed his work, and it's a little weird thing that one of my friends is actually like grew up with Matt Mercer and stuff. So like I have a mutual friend on Facebook with Matt Mercer. That's like about as far as it goes. But so I had heard of him. So he was like in my FI anyway. So I was like, yeah, no, that would be cool. And maybe somebody a little bit different from the people we've been typing.
And I hadn't heard of him at all, but as I was learning some of the stuff that he did a School of Thrones. If anybody was a Game of Thrones fan, and there was a couple of episodes that was hysterical. He produced that, I think, or wrote it. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. You're right, though. Produced,
related
wrote,
to that.
I mean, it's YouTube.
He
right?
does he does a bunch of things.
He does a bunch of
wear
things.
A lot of hats.
Yeah, and it was early in the days of like before there were a bunch of web series and things like that he moved into that space. He started doing that space.
I learned actually today when I was watching some videos. They also, so we were talking about, who was it, LeVar, who has like one of the top Kickstarters of all time.
Oh, right.
So does Matt.
Yeah.
And I think Critical Role or something, one of those. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was Critical Role. I think they were doing some sort of
animation,
like book or an animation. Yeah, exactly.
Getting adjusted.
Yeah, me too.
But I wanted to ask, for people who don't know, could you give like a brief overview of like D&D and role playing and like what that means, so that they have context, because that's going to be really important for our conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I can do as much as, so I've actually only
you've played it
twice.
I haven't.
Twice, and it's on the internet. So like I had never played D&D before. So not until the ENFPs got together and played a couple games of D&D, but honestly, I had never played it before. I've been like, I sometimes joke that I'm so much of a nerd that I was a wannabe D&D player. I just never had enough like actual IRL in real life friends to play, right? It's like you do need a kind of a group. So Dungeons and Dragons is it's a storytelling role-playing game where you have the person who is the dungeon master, who they do make, so there's a company called Wizards of the Coast, which is actually also based in the Seattle area. It's in Renton. It's kind of funny. It was right next to the FAA offices. So when I used to go down there, I was like, oh, there's Wizards of the Coast. They also make Magic the Gathering, the card game. So you may have heard of that, similar kind of nerd Dungeons and Dragon-y kind of thing. But anyway, so Wizards of the Coast actually creates these like modules that are game books that have the information for this imaginary world. And so the dungeon master kind of has all of that information available to them, and they have the story that you're going to play through. And then the players each have a character that they're taking on that role of that character. And there are different like stats essentially. So you'll have, so like in the recent D&D that we played with the ENFPs, I was a half orc ranger named Shay, essentially Shay Tezru. And so like as a half orc, there are like certain things that like my character has, like night vision and things like that kind of affect
like
how I could play the game. Skill sets, and weapons. And like as a half orc, I was a big tank type character, so I could use a battle axe, whereas like Jono was playing a tiefling, which is like a cat type of person, like rogue. So, he wouldn't have the battle axe like that, so it's things like that. And all of that is kind of tracked with math, like, and so it's all played with like, dice essentially. You have a movement or you have an action that you want to do, and you roll usually like a 20-sided dice, and then there's modifiers you can do. And so it was started in like the 70s or something, and it was kind of
if you've watched Stranger Things,
that's
what the kids are playing, the boys.
So that's kind of an overview of D&D.
It's very like it's very immersive, and the role playing in the sense that like you take on the character and you embody that character while you're playing it, and there's these rules around how you play the game, but it can be like, so what one of the things that Matt does is that he's a dungeon master. That's what he's known for, and that's Critical Role. That's right, Critical Role. Yeah, it's the other
and
one.
it's a kind of a play on the word roll, right?
Yeah,
because in the game you roll dice, which would be ROLL, right? But it's Critical Role, ROLE, like your role in the story, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So this is what he does. He is the one, so he's not playing the character. He is the one orchestrating things and creating this environment and doing this story, like guiding this storytelling for other people to be able to immerse themselves in it.
Correct. Yep.
So,
okay. So
anything else on that before we jump?
No, I'm sure we'll kind of talk more about it. You know, we'll talk more about him as we go in. I guess, like, and I'm not, I don't play, but I guess like he's also fairly well known for voicing McCree in Overwatch. So I guess like some people who are like hardcore Overwatch fans would know him as the voice actor for McCree. And I've never played the game, so like I don't know who that is, but it sounds like a Texan kind of a, when he's done like in different interviews, he would sort of do the voice.
Do some of the voices.
Yeah. So his career was basically voice acting. And so he and his voice acting friends had a game of D&D that they were running. And then
they started,
Yeah. And then I believe it was Felicia Day, because her channel is Geek and Sundry. And I think she approached them and said, hey, do you want to put this on?
Wait, Felicia Day as well?
Yeah.
She's in it? Oh, I didn't know that.
No, she's not in Critical Role.
Oh,
she produces Geek and Sundry, which was a channel.
Yeah.
A YouTube channel, and I think Critical Role started there, and then it's now its own YouTube channel, and it's its own thing. And he married Marisha Ray, and now she's like the producer of all that stuff.
Wait, Marisha Ray or Felicia Day?
He married Marisha Ray.
Okay, but we were talking about
Felicia Day.
Day. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Yes. Okay. I'm like, wait. Okay.
Felicia's a different person. Yeah. Geek and Sundry was a channel that they kind of had a lot of that stuff. That's kind of how I found out about this stuff is they also, Will Wheaton, I should add to the list, because his show on Geek and Sundry was a show that Luis and I, my husband and I, got into and basically got us into tabletop gaming. And so Geek and Sundry's kind of been a place for gaming in general, not just video games, but also tabletop games and role-playing games and stuff like that. So so it started there, but then now it's Critical Role's its own thing. Yeah. Okay. Cool. And so do you want to, usually the non-host, I always like the guest, if you will.
Sure.
So this was my idea, obviously.
I'll jump in with the type that I got. So I'll preface this. So these are the biases. I jotted down my biases. And with this one, I don't know if I was just more aware of my biases or there were more of them, but I jotted them down going into it. So my biases were not my quadra.
Yeah.
Want him to have FE Blast.
Okay.
Okay. And then when I saw him with Marisha, with his wife, he was definitely occupying the NF and she was occupying the ST. And I saw a lot of EJ coming off of her that I didn't see coming off of him. So those were some of the biases I went into it with. And the final type I arrived at was audio, although I'm not 100% sure on his extroverted decider, if it's masculine or feminine. And then NEFI, consume, sleep, blast, play.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
That was interesting. Thank you for sharing your biases, because I thought you were gonna come in with FE. I thought she's gonna see and think FE.
I wanted to, and we'll get to that when
we'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
Yes. So now this is one, like, this might be one of my more confident typings.
Okay.
But so I got double feminine, NEFI, consume, play, blast, sleep.
NEFI, consume, play, blast, sleep.
There it is. Yeah. And I did go, we'll talk about it. I went back and forth between consume, play, sleep, blast, or consume, play, blast sleep and ended up here.
Me too.
Me too. That we'll talk about.
Me too. Okay, cool. That will be really great to flesh out. But okay, so that's okay.
This is, by the way, and we'll talk about it. This is what Dave and Shannon have typed Dario Nardi as. Now, Dario Nardi thinks he's an INTJ.
Yeah, well,
very
that's okay.
famously, I know, that's okay. Very famously, Dave and Shannon have typed him as an ENFP, and they've typed him as this type. And I'm going to talk about that as I talk about how I finalized on my animal stacking, because that does enter into it.
Okay.
That comparison game.
Okay. Yep. I'm having trouble pasting my thing in. I'm sorry.
Okay, because you said it, but can you repeat it then? Because I was expecting to see it. So admittedly, my NE did not glob onto it.
Totally valid. It's really bugging me that it's not copying. I don't know what's going on. I'm having an observer freak out right now.
I have to do demon sensory hacks in order to work that on the first try, and it feels like magic. I text it to myself and then copy paste it.
Oh, okay. It's pasting, but it's not pasting there. Hold on. Let me try one more time. We will snip this out if we need to. Okay.
Or I think we should keep it. I think people need to see observers in observer land.
In observer land? Yeah. Okay. Well, fucking Christ. It's not.
Oh, maybe not.
Okay. I shouldn't curse as much.
No. I'm a double decider. I'm fine.
It's bugging me. This is driving me insane that I can't paste it in here.
While you're doing that, I'll bring up my notes so that I don't lose them. I found my mom's old iPad mini. It's great. iPad minis.
Oh, right. The one that you're using with
with my daughter. With the time.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid she's going to break it. But it's just such a nice form factor. Just a nice little hand drive. It's great for notes and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
I might get another one. Maybe that's what I'll get. Anyways, okay. Are we snipping this? We might be snipping this.
Yes. Okay. Success.
There we go. Where is it?
I had to do it a totally different way.
Okay, dear listener. So Rasavia got MF, NEFI, Consume, Sleep, Blast, Play. Mm-hmm. So what we did get in common, so you and I were kind of briefly chatting, the thing that I'm focused on is getting these saviors, the savior functions, the top.
Yes, and we got them. And we both got them as an observer.
At the end, we both got them as observer, we both got them as ENFP.
This is even closer than LeVar. I'm proud of us.
So I feel good. So that's my goal, is for us to be aligned on our definitions of the functions enough to get saviors, the same saviors.
Everything else is dressing.
So I appreciated the bias talk because I was thinking, is she going to say FE? And if so, we need to align on our definition.
Yes. So this is going to be, this is going to be great.
Because I was thinking, if you did, then maybe my next discussion episode may be, let's talk about definitions.
I didn't, although I think that might be worth revisiting. Just
it might be anyway.
Sake, because it's been a while.
It has been.
And we've been at this, But
it has been. Okay.
I didn't write this down, but once I heard your type, I'm like, that was also a bias. I wanted him to be double feminine, but I saw such clarity with his memory that I almost went kinesthetic at one point. I considered that.
Yeah.
And also I saw.
Go ahead.
Anyway, we'll get to it.
Okay, here we go.
Yes.
So, actually, there's one other thing I wanted to bring up for my own. When we play a little bit of the comparisons game, I want to bring up one other thing. But anyway, let's start though. We can go ahead and start. So observer decider, we both agreed on observer. So tell me a little bit about, I had a great example. So tell me a little bit.
There were a couple of things. One, in that interview that was on, oh my God, I forgot the name of it. Let me check.
Between the Sheets? The Between the Sheets?
Which,
that was a great interview.
Between the Sheets was one of my favorite interviews. It's up there with some all-time favorite interviews that I've seen
of anything.
On YouTube. Yes, that was
was good. The interviewer was really good.
And it was a great example. I think the interviewer was FE.
Closer to FE.
Really good at creating a space and pulling that out of Matt. It was an amazing interview.
Actually, just real quick, another thing to just note, I felt like maybe because he is so I jokingly said he's internet famous, but I think that helped. because there was a lot of different content out there on Matt. Like there was that really great Between the Sheets interview, which Between the Sheets is like a spin-off of Critical Role, because they've interviewed like all the Critical Role people, including him as the DM. But then there was also like Comic-Con panels, and then there were also like podcasts. Like it was a nice like mix.
YouTube is
content.
His world. Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
He is. Yeah. So
versus like a celebrity that doesn't live in YouTube.
Right. And I know that Dallas, the guy who requested that we do this, I know he's already pushed Dave and Shannon to do it, but I think I'm going to start also pushing them to do Matt Mercer, because there's good content on it.
There is, and he's lovely.
Yeah, he's lovely.
And considering the fact that like, okay, so we both saw that he was info dominant, but we weren't sure play or sleep. That means that his other one is also strong.
Really good.
Last Animal is also strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, so Observer Decider. So you were saying, I think I cut you off. I apologize.
Oh, okay. So there is the Between the Sheets interview, and then the other one is there was this interview on Lipral. So it was him and his wife Marisha being interviewed by. I forgot her name.
Some kind of
they mentioned it. So EJ, so much EJ going on from her.
And I almost want to say ESTJ, even though she was like, I'm just such an empath. I'm like, really? Are you an empath, lady?
I saw her as
I'm talking about Valerie. The Valerie.
Is that her name?
I think that was her name.
The blonde chick.
Yeah, but then there was go on.
And then there was a dude. But so there was like, it felt like half of that interview when there was decider conversation being driven by the blondie, his wife Marisha engaged in it.
Yes.
And Marisha has such EJ issues where like when the blondie was saying like, oh yeah, but you have to find your DI, you have to act from your DI, Marisha was like, oh preach girl. And
she was there for it, right?
And Matt was like,
he was like playing with Legos. Well, I don't know if you saw the Lego
so was the
one.
Other interviewer.
Yes, those two were clearly the observers in the room, almost like IJ
and the DIs.
Yes, and DIs. Yeah.
It felt like EPs and EJs.
Yeah, it did. It did. Yeah, the other guy did seem kind of EP like.
Yeah. Different flavor of EP from Matt.
Different flavor.
But so that was like one of the main reasons that I didn't see anything that was super I didn't see any observer freakouts from him.
I've got one for you.
You got one. Okay, great.
And I'll give you the timestamp.
Okay. Thank you for that.
So that you can, if you want to like, tempt to the fates and put the thing in there. Although I feel like Matt would be good with that. Like, I don't feel like he would have an issue, but anyways. So it was in the Fireside Q&A, which was kind of hilarious to me. Very ENFP.
I didn't watch the whole thing, but yes, that was.
It was just funny.
That was great.
But at about 6 minutes in, if you go to about 6 minutes in, he does this very like double decider and then right into an observer freakout. Yeah, because so what he's talking about, and look, again, I'm actually a noob to D&D, but like one thing I know about D&D is like your character is kind of a big deal because you're role playing as this character. People have campaigns that go like years, like it's a big deal. The character.
Their first Critical Role has been around for 4 years, and they're only on their second campaign.
Yeah, the
first campaign was 115 episodes or something like that.
Yeah, and it kind of just recently ended because that's when I tried to kind of get into Critical Role because I heard that the first campaign was over, so I was like, maybe I'll give it a shot. But then Dave and Shannon, I started taking the class.
You started doing this.
Yeah, and I just don't listen to 3-hour-long podcasts because they're long.
But the 3-4 hours, 115 episodes spans years. Yeah. Anyway, you were saying.
Anyway, so he's talking about something. I think it was like a convention or something like that. And he's saying like there's this other guy who was DMing, and so Matt was being a player for the first time in like a long time, like in the public space, right? And he's like, yeah, I totally see how it would be hilarious for, me to return as a player to this game. Like a lot of people haven't seen him as a player. And then you hit me with a Demigorgon and you kill me right off, right? Which was very decidery or double decidery. Because he's like, yeah, the tribe would think it would be funny to throw me under the bus. And I get it. Ha ha ha. Like I can laugh at myself and I can laugh at the tribe. Like I can do that. Like it wasn't like, oh my God, you killed my character. Or it also wasn't tribe weird where it was like, I'll do whatever the tribe wants. It was kind of both. Like, that would suck, but it would be funny. And then like immediately the like iPad goes to sleep or something.
And he's just I did ping on that.
Fucking settings.
I wrote demon sensory for that. I'm like, oh, hello, demon sensory.
Well, and observer of like, he had to like stop. And then there's like a part where he's like, sorry, everybody. I need to fix this. Like that's like the observer freak out is like
that we just had a few minutes ago.
Yeah. Like we have to shut the show down because I can't move past this. Like this is my problem right now. I can't move past it. And you can hear like the people in the background like like laughing at him. But he's like he pauses this thing for a good like little bit to like fix the iPad. So to me that was just he doubled the sides and then immediately observer freak out. Like it was so funny.
That's such a great example.
Yeah. So, but yeah, other than that, like there weren't, he
it was an absence of decider talk and being pulled into decider conversation, not as much as a lot of observer freakouts.
I agree.
But it's also probably because we're observers.
Yeah, perhaps. We do tend to filter out decider talk.
Yeah, but I also like the observer issues are like, they feel real to us as well.
That's true.
Right. So our brain doesn't ping on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's a tough one, but I mean, anyways, like you said, it was a lack of decider weird. I felt like.
Yes. Especially in that lip roll interview or whatever.
I think it's lip roll.
Lip roll. Okay. So we have critical role and we have lip roll.
Yes.
Okay.
And there were like several with that same group, and I think it was lip
it was all in one sitting.
Yeah, it was clearly all in one sitting, but I think there were two channels going on. I think the Valerie, the blondie, I think her channel was lip roll, and then the other guy was like Vinyl Cafe or something like that.
Yeah, the one with the Legos.
Yeah, the Legos was like a different segment, and then there was another one in that same
Q&A. Yeah, I saw all three of those. There was this
chick in all yellow.
Yes,
with like a yellow
obsessed with yellow. Yeah.
And even then he's like,
Q&A.
He was like, if your NPC wants to wear yellow, okay. Like he's just like, okay, a little weird on the yellow, but sure, we could do that. Yeah. So okay, let's move on to identity versus tribe. So this one was a bit tough.
Really?
Well, it was tough in that I feel like if you were to ask Matt, he wouldn't tell you that he's Savior DI because he really thinks of his because did we both get him with Sleep Demon of some sort?
No. Sleep is where we disagreed. Yeah, I saw him as Savior Sleep.
Yeah, so we can talk about that more. But yeah, like I feel like he would say that, but then it's one of those things where you don't listen to what a person says. You have to watch their actions and you have to like look at what they're motivated by. And as he's even struggling with that, he still is just driven by his FI though, like
he is.
His whole life has been, I'm basically his NF consume, like running everything and pushing him towards his goals and what he likes to do. It's all what I want and what I value is what's actually driving his life. Yeah. Yes.
And I think, and this is where I saw FE. And I think this is also like, this is a struggle that I see other people who are Savior FI who can FE. It's this, so how I've started to think about it is individuals versus communal. So it's individual values versus communal values. And he holds space for individual values. He holds space for everyone's FI.
Yes.
He's not looking at the room and the communal values. And the reason he holds space for everyone's FI is because his FI got shat on so much when he was a kid.
Right. And I feel like even me, like having demon FI myself, like I feel like my understanding of FI has gotten a lot better in the last like however many months or whatever, like 3 months or whatever, that I think, back in like June, I might have said FE for him, but
okay. Really?
But to your point, I'm now starting to recognize. So what I'm now seeing is like the Savior F, whether it's FE or FI, that behavior of wanting to hold space for the feelings of the tribe, if you will, that is Savior F. Now the question is the person tribe above self, or are they self above tribe?
Yes.
And that's kind of how I had to do it. I had to kind of separate because I was like, okay, I definitely am seeing Savior feeling, like for sure, very clearly. And now it was like, okay, is it DI that he is motivated by? Is it his introverted decider that he's checking? Or is it the extroverted decider that he's checking? And that's where I came back with FI, because it was like, okay, he's definitely, and this is the things I was telling you, he's definitely motivated by his internal decider.
Yeah.
Like that's who he's checking with. Yeah. And also, he's he's kind of taking on that role of significance. You know, they talk about the human needs.
Yes. In the Between the Sheets interview, that was like, that's what he was preaching, that idea of like, if I was inspired, if I can inspire, that's great.
Exactly.
That like, first build up the self,
so the tribe can be inspired.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it was
very much what he was doing.
And so that guy, the interviewer, I feel like the interviewer is like part of Critical Role somehow, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
Because I saw him in some of the Comic-Con panels too. The same guy, the interviewer guy. But he, at the end, he talks about how, like, Matt, to me, you are a beacon. Like, you are a lighthouse. He does this really beautiful.
Yes.
Like,
the lighthouse.
NF
I love
blast.
that analogy.
Yeah.
NF blast.
Possibly NF blast from that guy. But yeah, but it was really beautiful. It really was. This lighthouse analogy of, like, you know, there's a safe place. You know, this is a safe place that
what I find Savior FI. So, okay, to be, you know, the DI that I am and thinking that I'm, some of my arrogance coming through, but that is the thing that I've heard as well in terms of like FI wants to hold space for other people's FI,
right?
In terms of like being that lighthouse that and I think that's one of the reasons why FI can seem so FE sometimes. Because like you said, you have to tease apart though, like, is it coming from tribe above self or self above tribe? Because we can FE, but it's on an individual basis rather than the communal one. And he does it really, really well.
Yes, he does. He does. So we both, I want to talk about the modality here, or at least the sexual. I want to talk about it now because, and I know, so you mentioned that you were a little bit back and forth on whether his extroverted decider, we'll just go ahead and call it TE, if his TE was feminine or masculine, but you ended up with feminine TE, masculine FI. You want to talk a little bit about what you saw there?
I wasn't seeing any punch at the tribe, but I was seeing feminine feeling. I was seeing a lot of feminine feeling.
That's true.
But I didn't see any punch at the tribe. And this was one of the areas where I did the spectrum game, and I looked up some other types of a similar, and the double masculines definitely had, I could feel the double masculines off of those people. And so I landed on audio.
Yeah, that was one that just today, and so I wasn't able to really even think about it, but I was like, I wonder if he's visual. You know what I mean? Like, I was beginning to wonder because I also just wasn't quite seeing the punch at the tribe though. Like, ultimately
I did see some punch from Marisha though.
Oh yeah. Like, you just reminded me of something.
Okay.
I
was using her to triangulate a lot. And what we're attracted to is,
I will say this. In that relationship, she is certainly playing the role of the MTE and he's playing the role of the FTE, right? Like, they're at least playing that, and he sees that because when he described his relationship to her, I found it somewhere. I wrote on a quote. It was something like, she's the fighter, I'm the diplomat. That's what he said.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, whatever.
He's absolutely in love, whether she has MTE or not. He's in love with wherever her punch is coming from. He's in love with that.
He's attracted to that.
Yes.
He's attracted to that. So yeah, you're right. And so okay. As we get more into this, I want to keep that masculine FI in mind, because that was another thing that kind of made me flip a little bit. Was the
flip from what to what?
Well, I had him as consume, play, sleep, blast. So I also was sort of split between info and energy. I wasn't sure. But like one of the reasons I went with consume, play, blast, sleep was what I've seen with the energy dominant, like when that masculine FI is getting pulled on a little sooner. So maybe even consume sleep. I didn't compare that one. Okay. But looking at our class, we've got some classmates that are typed as consume, play, sleep, blast. Their FI comes quicker. If you like their little, like, I love masculine FI, but it can be a little asshole sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, it could be kind of like a fuck you function.
Yeah.
Which Dave will tell you, he's got masculine FI. Luis will tell you he's got a t-shirt that is literally two birds, right? Yeah. Like, when we met you, he was wearing this like double fuck you t-shirt. And like, he didn't have that, that sort of masculine FI, like, in your face.
Yes.
And so I felt like it was getting tempered by something, and it was maybe getting tempered by that feminine TE getting pulled on earlier. You know what I mean? In that, for me, with the play being higher. with the play being higher. So the thing with the consume, and we'll talk about his animals, the consume plays, even the straight ENFPs, the NEFI ENFPs, the consume plays, it's like almost a savior obligation to the tribe. It's like a mini savior obligation to the tribe, because the play,
I mean, whatever that activated function is, it's gonna have a little kick to it.
It's gonna have like, they're not gonna be as quick to fuck you to the tribe.
Right, to brush it aside.
Yes, because they're still savior obligated to the external, to the tribe, right?
Okay.
And that's what I was seeing. It was like, okay, this is a little bit tempered. Like, I do think it's masculine FI, but it's not the consume sleep flavor of masculine SI that I've seen before. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where I was kind of on the other side of it, because, and it was hard to tease apart what was my own biases coming into it and what I was actually seeing, because the FI that I was seeing didn't feel unfamiliar to me.
Yeah.
The NE totally did. Yeah. Like that part of it, like there were times, well, we'll get to the observers, but
I'm so excited.
FI, like feminine FI, like I have a lot of punch to me, and I wonder if I have a lot, like, I think even for my type, I have a decent amount of punch. Mm-hmm. And I wonder how much of that is just because of my upbringing, and that maybe like if he does have masculine TE and he has feminine FI, that just that punch is a lot quieter.
Yeah.
Because he didn't grow up in a family where the only way you can hear each other is by yelling, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. But yeah, so that is
he's talked about how he was raised by hippies.
Yeah, his parents sounded super cool.
Yeah.
Did you hear that story when he and his friend found the Joy of Sex, or the sex book, but it was the gay version? And
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it was there's a book, I forget what it's called. It's like called The Sex Book or the book. And but it was the gay, and the kid's parents, so it was at the kid's house or whatever.
Yeah, his friend's parents.
Yeah, they were like scandalized when they found out. No, it was at Matt's house, because Matt's parents were like, "Oh, that's so funny. We got it for your Uncle Jim, who's gay." Like they were just like, "Oh, haha!" Like, it's so hilarious that our kid found this. Like, they didn't care at all. They just sounded super cool. So
yeah, they did.
He had a good upbringing. So that's another reason I want Dave and Shannon to do him for a class.
Yes. Yeah, they should. We'll push on it.
Yeah, we'll keep pushing.
Dave and Shannon, if you're listening,
you should do Matt Mercer. It'll be good. A good ENFP example. So let's talk about his observers, because I wrote down definitely in my quadrant. I was like, yeah, I get you. Anyway, go on. But different. So I want to talk about the sexuals here too. So go on.
This was one of the areas where I actually saw his DI like immediately. I saw that smacked me in the face really, really strongly. And then I acknowledged that I wanted him to be NE. Mm-hmm. Like in my head, I knew that I wanted him to be NE, especially because that seems like
D&D seems very NE to me.
It's very intuition, because
very intuition.
Sensory, we want to have some kind of sensory for our imagination to jump off.
Right.
Whereas savior intuition doesn't need that sensory.
Right.
So I was seeing that.
I think, oh man, and I don't remember which, but as you're saying that, a memory is hitting me. So I think it must have been in the Matt Mercer. It must have. Actually, you know what I think it was? Because I actually did end up, so today I pretty much had his type down and had done my cross check. So today, just for funsies, I watched him play D&D with Stephen Colbert. I watched the whole thing.
I didn't. I watched bits and pieces, but I love
so
Colbert.
Awesome. So in the beginning of that, I almost put it in the typing doc that you should at least watch the beginning, because the beginning was almost like a little interview.
Oh, okay. I skipped that part.
Yeah, it's okay.
I jumped in the middle just to watch them play a bit.
But in the beginning of that, Stephen Colbert, who was like an OG D&D player, like he even talks about he has a book, like a D&D book that was signed by Gary Gygax, who was the person who like created D&D.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he's like original.
Oh, and for anybody who doesn't know, Colbert is audio.
I have it. That's what I was looking up early.
Oh,
he is audio FINE consume play blast.
Sleep.
Consume play blast. The same animal stacking that I got. He's consume play blast.
Are you sure? Because I remember being surprised that he's blast last.
He's not blast last. Okay. Yeah, MF FINE consume play blast. Yep. unless somebody got him wrong in the
Oh
spreadsheet.
no, yeah. He's sleep last.
Yeah, and so these two were great because it's like
except that he's a decider.
Except for that he's a
decider,
right?
Yep.
You have an INFP and an ENFP, right? And but it was in the beginning of that. Colbert is talking about how back in his day they didn't have figurines, they didn't have anything, right? They just had their imagination and some dice, and in like more modern day. There are like figurines, like you can get maps, and you can get little figures, you can make it more sensory. And so actually this is one of the few episodes of Critical Role that I ever saw. Was at one point Matt Mercer behind, so the DM sits behind like a screen, right? And they kind of sit behind their screen. He pulls a freaking like dragon out of his like DM screen in this amazing reveal, and all the players are like, you know, and so like he like pulls this thing out. And so like in the modern day they've added these really fun, you know, people are not super into the figurines and stuff. And yeah, so Matt says that, like, to your point of like how the sensory wants something physical, says like, yeah, now that there's figurines, the game's more popular now. Like, but the exchange that they have, it's very any exchange, because, you know, Steven's saying like, yeah, back in my day, we didn't have anything. So he's like, yeah, not too many people played, did they? And it was just like very cute. Like these two were just playing off each other really well.
Colbert, I love Colbert. I adore him so much. But he had such a like, he was so into it. He had such a wonder, and he was just so much like reacting and like effing with Matt when they were playing that game. It was really, really good. And it showed like how good of a DM Matt is too, that he was able to kind of take Steven on this journey. That's the thing that I was like, I'm glad I got to see Matt in that role, because he is really good at it.
And that was the other reason why I decided to watch that today, or at least listen, because I was like walking around a bunch, and so I was like listening to it as I was walking from place to place, and I was like, I feel like I need to see him in his element, because I don't have I actually haven't seen Critical Role in a long time, and so I don't have a lot of that. And so I was like, I want to see like, how does he run a campaign? What does he do? You know, how does he run it? Now, granted, this is like a little one shot for fun, for charity with one other person, but it's like, that's hard as a DM to have one player and you've got to tell this narrative and have characters. And and so that was one area. Now, so yeah, I mentioned that I wanted to talk about the modality here a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
Although maybe we should keep talking about any other.
About any, well, I mean, I saw intuition above sensing for reasons we discussed. I also saw a decent bit of OE.
Me
but
too.
Not like, and now I'm realizing would make sense if he has consumed sleep, last played, he's a glass lizard.
Yeah.
But not an imbalanced amount of OE. And I think that's why I had trouble pinging his observers.
Yeah, well, and so down. Okay, good. So that's a good intro into the whole masculine NE thing. So
okay, yes.
I feel like masculine NE is an interesting and different sort of function, and I think that that's where like it can seem kind of OI like, if you will, because like the branching. So this is another thing that I'm starting to understand a little bit more. I have feminine NE. And I feel like feminine NE, I used to think the opposite, which is kind of funny. I used to think that NE's reputation as the ADHD channel changing function was masculine NE. Now I think it's feminine NE. I think my own function is the version of NE that sort of can't fix one line and then jumps to another and then jumps to another. And it's because my N is so fluid that it's moving around and I'm not keeping the plot. Whereas feminine NE, it felt more like
masculine.
It felt more masculine. It felt like a tree with branches that are going off it, but very solid. Like he knows where this narrative is going. And that's another reason why you could argue we could say that D&D is kind of NE, is because when you're playing D&D, you need to be able to quickly move with the narrative and have your concepts go in a completely different direction and that you didn't plan on. And he loves that. So speaking of the OE, that gives him joy. You can tell he gets a dopamine hit from surprise.
Yes. And that's very much the I saw the NESI access in the sense, like you and I have talked about it, but I think it was off screen, where NE has all of these concepts and all of these ideas, and it is once a reality, a moment, that moment, the SI of the now brings all of that down, and the NE and SI triangulates, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what him being a DM is all about,
right?
Because he has all these NE that's going on, and when he actually plays the game, there are these sensory moments that bring all of that, and that's how he tells the story.
Exactly.
That's how he weaves this.
That's how he weaves this
for
thing.
People.
Yeah. So like
and I think it's because, well, I mean, we'll get to it, but I think his SI is like, it's not. I think he triangulates. One of the reasons I struggled with his observers is because he triangulates his NE and SI so well that it seems NI-like, especially why I wanted him. I saw FE and I wanted him to have like NF blast.
Yeah.
A lot of it seemed very NFE.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
And I think that's because he was triangulating his observers really well.
That, and also masculine NE can seem NI-like.
I don't know if I agree with that.
I think it does, and that's why I think you have a lot of the masculine NEs that have been typed by Dave and Shannon coming back and saying, oh no, I feel very NI, because the masculine NE, the concept is solid. So to them, and if you listen to them, they are branching but converging. So they branch with all these like conceptual connections, but it converges on a whole that kind of feels like, is that NI? Because it's kind of convergent. But it's still NE, but it's just a more sort of heavier and solid NE than my
the
version.
Feminine one.
Yeah, because I will actually lose. So if you can imagine, I'm speaking very NE right now, but like, in my mind, it's like, mine is like water, where like I will just kill off some of those streams because I've just kind of lost them, right? Whereas the masculine NI kind of keeps all of those. That's why the tree is like a good example for me, because it's like those branches are still there.
They don't go away,
just fall away the way they do with me.
Okay.
So it can kind of have that NI like effect of,
it just
like,
has a solidity to it.
A solidity to it, and almost like a structure, structure.
Okay.
But it is definitely, like, for him, again, this was another, like, this typing for me was just a good getting back to the binary coins, because like you, I saw N over S, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I saw OE because, whenever anybody had a surprise or anything new, he loves it. Like, you can see a sense of excitement and wonder.
There was this it was in one of the interviews, I didn't write down which one, but people were asking him about his career more as the voice actor, not his DM work.
Right.
But it's like, you have to pursue everything, don't limit yourself. It was this very like EP language, like don't narrow me down.
Right yeah,
that he was preaching. Yeah
Okay, where are we? Let's see. That was the
we did deciders, we did observers.
NF. I want to
Oh, I didn't get very strong NF vibe from him. Not like the traditional hippie vibe.
The hippie.
But I saw, and this was another thing where Marisha helped me see, I saw a lot of ST on her.
Yes.
I saw a lot of ST on her, and I was just like, okay, now I can see the NF on him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I got him as double masculine on the NF. Which right,
you did,
which is like a deep, so I know they call I think it's like, oh yeah, interesting. So sleep consume, the little like thing that's written next to it is deep inner world of taking in info and processing. But I feel like double masculine NF can be a very deep imaginative world, because the N is a concept which is like your imagination, but it's very solid to the masculine ends, and then their values are very solid to them too, so they can go into this really deep inner world.
I think if he had masculine saviors, it would have taken him a lot longer to accomplish what he's accomplished.
I could see that.
I think
but I have him as savior play. Yeah.
Which will I guess let's jump into the animals.
Yeah, let's talk animals. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't see I landed on him being info dominant very early on.
Yeah, I didn't right away.
And it was, again, because of Marisha, because hearing them interact, it was info. It was
That's true.
alternating between consume and blast.
Yeah. Yeah, I ended up landing on it also. This is going to sound kind of funny, but like, in a way, like his role in the company, of the company critical role, so not the game, but the company, is kind of the info master. Like, he's like the lore master. It's his job to kind of keep all the information straight, and like, that's what he's interested in, and that's what he wants to do.
Yep.
So that, I think the thing that nailed it for me with Info Dominant was I listened to this, it was a Q&A in Sweden, and like, it just felt like whenever he was asked a question, he wanted to give the info, if you will.
Yeah.
Like, that's when I could really, info to energy is hard for me to verbalize, but I know it when I see it, kind of a thing, where I'm like,
yeah, and it felt like he was speaking my language.
Yeah.
Like being in a different quadrant, but it still felt like, like he's somebody I would enjoy chilling with. Whereas sometimes when I encounter deciders or somebody who's energy dominant, there's a slight friction there, in the same way that when I encounter somebody who's not in my quadra, it just feels slightly foreign.
Yeah. Now,
which,
granted,
you know, very, very solid proof right there. Oh, it doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right. Well, and so again, we have a couple classmates that are consume, play, sleep, and so I was looking like Shannon, which I realized I watched it on the Objectively Typed YouTube channel.
Shannon and Chris.
Yeah, Shannon and Chris are double feminine NEFI consume, play, sleep, blast. Yeah. And so on the YouTube,
he's not them.
He's not them.
He's not them.
No. And that's what I was picking up, because I was watching Shannon's interview with our classmate Kendrick, and Kendrick like asks her an info question, like it was about the Enneagram, like, oh, are you an Enneagram type 4? And she just goes, it's a wing. And never answers him. Never actually says a wing in Enneagram. All the types have a type and then a wing. It's like a secondary type. But it was just funny because she never gave him the info. Like, she, me as an info dominant was like, wait. You didn't answer that question.
Back. Yeah,
like,
right.
I was
Which is something Dave and Shannon do all the time.
Yeah.
Not actually answer the question.
Yeah. And yeah, so it was like, she just didn't, and also that was a little bit, and that's what I was mentioning about that sort of FI, that masculine FI fuck you a little bit. And I was like, he like you said, he's not them. He's not them.
He's not.
So that's when I said, well, maybe he's consume, play, blast. Let me look at who those people are, right? And that's when I found out that it was Dario Nardi. And I was like, wait a minute. And then I went on a whole little weird rabbit hole. So this, I guess now is as good a time as any to talk about it. But like, so Dario, who thinks he's an INTJ, I think, but has been typed by David Shannon as this same double feminine ENFP consume, play.
Is that Jonah's type? Is Jonah? No, he's audio.
I think he's audio. I don't know. It's been a while since I looked.
Yeah, he hasn't been on the group. Anyway, yeah.
Anyway, but Dario. I know he identifies with Dario Nardi, though. I think he does. Right. But like, apparently, Dario Nardi is like an OG D&D player also. Like, he's written D&D like modules and systems and stuff, and I'm like, what? Like, I don't know why that just like blew my mind off. Of like, oh my god, this guy is the same like thing again, you know. And so I watched some Dario Nardi, and like, I can see that masculine NE, like what I meant about the whole like branching but coming to a convergence, which is why people are like, oh, he's NI, and I'm like, I don't know, I think that's masculine NE.
Okay, interesting.
The other thing with the two of them, Matt and Dario, and there's actually a third guy, Andy Richter, that I watched a little bit of. I guess he's on Conan. But all three of them have this in common, and they're all the double feminine, by the way.
I looked at those, but I looked at the audio and double masculine ones because I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah.
I was also back and forth between play and sleep.
They all are not, like, they're not the most introverted, not the most extroverted. You know what I mean? Like, right. They're all kind of balanced. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, this is known even in Myers-Briggs that the ENFP is supposed to be the most introverted extrovert kind of a thing.
Right.
So I think there's something about NE that kind of tempers that play
right,
blast
because
combo.
Even though it's in the extroverted world, it's very imaginative. Mm-hmm. Very imaginative. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas SC is the opposite.
Right. So even though I got his play and blast together, which can often be like a big energy, right, like a very extroverted person, I think there's something about NE that kind of turns that down a little bit. But he can clearly be more extroverted, and he can be, it's like ambivert. He's like
yeah, agreed. He can bring it when it needs to be.
He can bring it.
He can tone it down.
Yeah. So I mean, I just went on for a long time. So it's, to be clear, like I didn't see like, you know, flashing lights of demon sleep, right? But I feel like, you know, of course, I got him as an ENFP with my animals. And I'm like, I don't have the missing sleep beacons either, right? I think there's something about ENFPs that even if you're sleep last, it's not the same sleep last.
It's not
struggle.
the NI sleep.
It's not an NF, and it's not an NF sleep. You know what I mean? It's not the sleep that I think Dave and Shannon kind of talk a lot about, of like your identity and like struggling with that. Like that's not what our sleep
That's not
is
what,
like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one I also was very like whether his second animal was play or sleep, which one was there, was also back and forth on. And I'm not like, if Dave and Shannon come back, consume play blast and not consume sleep blast, I would believe it, but I'm still a little on the sleep side, mostly because in the Between the Sheets interview, every question that guy was throwing at him, he knew his sleep answer for it. He had processed it, and he had that consume sleep, deep, rich inner world, like in the sense like of taking in and processing. So anytime somebody asked him a question like, why are you doing this, he had his observers, his NE and SI, triangulated in service of that FI. He knew his FI.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why the FI smacked me in the face first, because he'd be a glass lizard.
I'm looking at
his
IP
issues.
Yeah, I'm looking at his age too, though. I mean, he's 37 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and honestly, like, this is, again, back to the data set. I felt like this is why it's good to have a diversity, because you're right. But that Between the Sheets interview to me was the most sort of sleep focused interview also. So I felt like even with sleep last, if you're 37 and you've been doing a lot of work and you had good upbringing, like if you're him, you could come with that. Like I feel like Stephen Colbert in that same situation with sleep last probably could come with that same, you know, level of depth of knowledge of himself. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And that interviewer was really good.
He was.
That helps a lot.
It does. And there was a lot of what seemed to me like feminine FI going on, but like, and I like, it was wonderful for so many reasons. One of which is because it was these two guys who were not afraid to tear up in front of each other.
Yeah.
And it was just so authentic and real.
People noted that in the comments. People
and it was
said
great.
That. People in the comments were like, can we just appreciate two grown men like sharing their feelings together? I'm like, yeah.
Ironically, one of my other favorite interviews is Colbert and Biden. Like early Colbert's, when he first got on The Late Show. Yeah. Really beautiful interview between him and Biden for the same reasons, because it just felt like it was an honor to be a witness to such a vulnerable moment.
It's so good. Yeah. So yeah.
Anyway,
okay. So that's where we were.
That's why I got him as consume sleep. And while we were talking, I realized that would make him a glass lizard. I should know this. Oh, the other reason I got him as consume sleep last play.
Yeah.
So I have noticed that like the thing I want to do, the thing that gets my brain the most awake and that I'm really excited about, is taking in SF information, deeply processing it, and then blasting it in a way that is NT accessible to the NTs.
Okay.
So it's like translating SF to the NTs, so to speak.
Right.
And so I asked Hannah and Mike, who are so Hannah is double masculine. NEFI, consume sleep, blast play. Yeah. Yep. So, and then Mike is double masculine, NETI, consume sleep, blast play. So they share my animals.
Yeah.
And they both agreed that feels like apt summary, where they take their savior letters and translate them to the opposite letters, so to speak. So like that kind of creating accessibility. And so that's very much what I feel like he's doing, where he's taking the NF and making it ST accessible to everybody.
Yeah, that's interesting. That is one way to look at it. I also felt like he is basically with D&D is very NE, as we've talked about, but it's also very NT, like NETE play, because you have to like puzzle figure out how to do things as you go, kind of a thing. And so that's the other thing, is I felt like that was a savior state for him to puzzle and figure out stuff. I
actually think one of the reasons that he got as good as he did get at it, and why he gets so much attention for it, and why he is where he is because that's his alpha state. He is in a play state when he is doing that. Then he is in an alpha mode, and when people are in their alpha state, we gravitate towards them. Like that's what I think one of the big things and what charisma is when we see somebody in their alpha state, because it's inspiring to us.
Yeah. I don't know.
But I could like I
could
said,
make an argument both ways.
I could see him being consume play blast, but definitely info dominant. And definitely consume above blast. Although beautiful blast, really beautiful blast. And his blast, I think the reason his blast almost seemed NF.
That's because his saviors, I think.
Yes, exactly. But it was like I heard TE in his blast. I didn't hear SI very much. I heard more NI in his blast. And I think that's because he's triangulating his observers. I don't know. It
depends. That's a toughie, because I mean, I speak that way too sometimes. I'll speak my saviors essentially. I'll talk in a very NT way. And so, for him, his NF, right, is his savior. So when he talks, it may come out sounding NF, yes. So, or his blast, like he may blast his saviors too. So that's why for me, like I said, like I went very much back to basics, if you will. And so a lot of binary coins. And so that's, what I've always done is the saviors get you the first animal. And then, so you're like, okay, let's consume. So it was the second animal, play or sleep. And so I played a play or sleep game, and I saw play above sleep.
Expending the energy.
Wasn't sure how far apart they were, but I saw expending the energy and then processing later and expending the energy. And then I went,
didn't see anything strongly for that question. I didn't see anything that was like definitive, like, oh, he wants to process and then expend the energy, or he wants to expend the energy and then afterwards he processes.
Yeah, that's true. I just saw that he was sort of willing to jump in.
He was doing both.
But like if you look at like his life story, it felt like a lot of it was doing, and now in retrospect, looking back at his history, very SF sleep. Understanding those pieces in context, if you will, right? But like first was getting himself out there, putting himself out there more and more. And then I just did the consume play sleep versus consume play blast, which we've already talked about. I did very just like I used to draw it like almost like a bracket. It looks like a bracket from like a tournament.
Well, that's what it is, right?
And then play one. Now sleep gets another shot. So sleep or blast, what do you get? And then blast because of the info dominant.
I think the other thing, and I relied heavily on this for a couple of reasons. I realized that I should have checked that bias and I didn't. The dynamic between him and Marisha. And one of the reasons I relied heavily on it is because when he talks about how they met, he talks about an instant gravity and an instant attraction there that speaks to me as a complementary kind of element to it. And it seemed that another thing that he was in love with in her was her play. Where when he talks about her, it's her ability to push through and get shit done.
I saw that as
it was.
I agree that it's her TE for sure.
And it seems
I'm not sure if it's her play though. I don't know.
The way he was describing her, we didn't type her and we're not going to, but the way he was describing her, it sounded like she had masculine and I, in the sense that where she came from, and she has this vision and she's pulled herself up going. And she made it fucking happen.
Right, exactly. She's playing the role of the ENTJ, of like an ENTJ.
And that's what he was in love with.
Does she look like Shannon? Oh, well, I guess Shannon is a jumper, different person. I was thinking of Shannon as in Shannon. Because I mean, it did feel like that masculine TE.
Yeah, that's one of the things that as I was playing the looks like game a little bit with her, but let's put that aside.
Anyways,
that's not typing.
Because he kind of looks like Dario Nardi. That was the other thing.
Does
when
he?
I found a picture of Dario, I was like, oh man, this is weird.
Yeah, I could see it. I actually wonder if one of the reasons Dallas was interested in him is because
they're similar.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, they're definitely similar. Watch our D&D game.
Dallas is double feminine NEFI.
Consume sleep. Animals? I think he's yours. I think he's what you got. Consume sleep.
Sleep, blast, play.
Or play blast.
I feel like he's energy dominant. Yeah.
He is energy dominant.
Okay, so then he's play blast.
Okay. Yes.
But yeah,
blast.
but
he's
they're in a
sleep.
similar vicinity.
Yeah, they're in the no, they're definitely in the
ENFPs
zone.
are gonna ENFP, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, I'm all right. Look at us.
I feel good that we both saw that he was an ENFP.
Yes. Yeah. After Sean, we're making some
redemption.
Good progress.
This is the redemption arc.
Yes.
And I am running out of time. I don't know if Louis kind of came down for a minute, but he stayed behind the privacy screen.
Let's wrap this up.
But let me bring up the little. Anyways, I guess we usually talk a little bit why we like the person and stuff like that. Like you said, it was interesting to get to know him. Seems like such a sweet guy. I would love to meet him in person. Which
FI is beautiful.
It's so hilarious. Like, he was here for Comic-Con back in March, and like I didn't go because I didn't watch Critical Roles. I was like, I'm not gonna go to the Critical Role panel. But like one of the videos I found but didn't watch, and so I didn't add it to the data set, was Emerald City Comic-Con 2019.
Oh,
I was like, I was there.
This was just
I was there, but I didn't go at all. But he seems like a really sweet guy. And I'm also not gonna lie, I'm borderline jealous of just his life. Like, the man plays D&D for a living, basically. And like, oh man, I think it was in the lip roll. They asked him, well, what do you guys do to relax? Like, if you play D&D all the time? And he's like,
that was such a great question.
It was a good question. And they're like, oh, we'll get a cabin up in the mountains and we'll go hiking and then we'll come home and play board games and video games. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like my fantasy life. Like, how can I figure out a way to like make my life be that? I need to figure that out somehow. Anyways,
you will make your life that.
I know. Yeah. So
and did we mention this? He's 37, so he's
37.
Yeah. So he's still fairly young, and
he's still fairly young.
Yeah, chugging along.
Yeah.
This is great. Yeah, he was wonderful. He's definitely somebody I'd love to kick it with.
Yeah.
I mean, so far everyone we've typed has been somebody we want to kick it with.
You said you would not. You said you would not kick it with Sean.
I would be scared. I would be scared of that sniper rifle.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, whereas Matt, I would love to kick it with Matt, because
ENFP, if I play D&D, I want to play it with Matt.
Yeah, I guess that's one other thing I wanted to note as I was going through this. I think I even wrote it down at some point. Dave and Shannon definitely use themselves to triangulate when they're typing. You can tell, like, the way they talk about NE and stuff like that. And like, this was one where like, he spoke my language. I would just okay, you're somewhere in my vicinity. And what
if he is double masculine, so he has your exact stack?
That would be weird. Yeah, well, it wasn't that though. That was the thing.
It felt different.
His NE felt different. I was like, that is NE, like that's NE, but it's not
different NE. Okay,
something was a little off.
If we're going off stereotypes, he definitely seems like he could be double feminine, right?
Yeah, he certainly seems that way.
Easily. Yeah.
His hair, his glorious hair. That was another funny question that guy said. He was like, yeah, if somebody, the interviewer said, if somebody said to you, your hair's not glorious, you wouldn't believe them because you know it is.
That would roll right off your shoulders. Yeah, when he talks about imposter syndrome.
Oh.
Yeah, he knows himself.
He does.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I think as you know,
we should pick somebody that just infuriates us and see what happens.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't want to spend hours consuming content on somebody that pisses me off.
No, me neither. Thought. The thing I was thinking with the ENF, like, I've gotten to know. I mean, I was typed as an ENFP, had never really learned about them or anything about them. So I've really gotten to know the type of the ENFP, right? And yeah, I just feel like there's something with our stacking, something about it, that identity is not our dragon. That's not it. It is dealing with this demon sensory that we live with every day to actually make our NE a reality, right? I mean, for him, it's the classic story of the NF. Like, how do I ST my NF, right?
Yeah. And
for
he's
me,
found a way to do that really well.
For me, with my NT, oh, that's the other thing. My SF is always gonna seem worse than his because I'm an NT. I'm an ENFP jumper, and so like my struggle is the SF. Like that's where that's gonna be like my like jewel at the end of my hero's journey or whatever like that. And so getting to know this type, and that's why like I am gonna push on Dave and Shannon to do it, because I just feel like they need
a good ENFP in their doc.
They need a good ENFP in their docs.
Yeah,
because they have Owen Cook. And I mean, Weird Al's cool.
Yeah, but Owen Cook, they haven't done a class on.
They haven't done an actual class.
When I was trying to triangulate, I'm like, oh, Owen Cook might be the same type. Let me go check him out. And they didn't do a class on him.
They didn't do a class on him. Yeah. Anyways, okay. So what did you think of...
Yeah, guys.
We're like,
Sleep or play? What did you see for his modalities?
Yeah. What did you see?
This is great. Those are the only areas we disagreed on. Yeah. We got 6 out of 9 questions the same.
Good.
Virtual high five.
So you can find us in all the OPS Facebook groups. There are kind of getting to be a lot of them. Just a few, but we usually post the videos for this on what we call the main group, the big study group, and the class group, right?
Yep.
You can find us on our YouTube channel, Objectively Typed, or email directly at objectivelytyped@gmail.com. We'll post our upcoming episode topics, and you can try to type along with us. We'd love to hear your suggestions. Again, this was a fan suggest.
Bring it to us, guys.
Yeah.
Who's somebody that infuriates you? Maybe
that's true.
Somebody that pisses you off, and maybe it'll be interesting to see how we ping off that person.
Pisses you off, or somebody crying in their a YouTuber crying in their basement, that kind of thing. Yeah, we need to find somebody like that.
We do.
Yeah. So let us know. Hit us a like and a subscribe, and other than that, thanks.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
See you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
And see.